All righty. So welcome everyone. We have students in Shishmaref, Alaska connected with us, and you're seeing their image large on the screen right now. You also see Dave, there we go, Dave Verbyla. He is our guest scientist today. He's going to be talking about Landsat a little bit later. Before we get to that, I want to do some introductions. So hello, I'm Bonnie Murray. As you can see, I'm coming to you from NASA Langley Research Center. And NASA Langley is in Virginia. It's in, I was going to say Virginia Beach. It's technically in Hampton, Virginia. But if you think about Virginia being on the East Coast, there is the Chesapeake Bay, and that's a significant feature that you might be able to find in a Landsat image so that you'd be able to see what NASA Langley looks like. So we're over near the Chesapeake Bay. And I want to welcome everyone today. We are here for a session that's called Meet the Scientist. This work is part of Elena Sparrow and Katie Villano's work. Katie Spellman, sorry, she's married now. Katie Spellman's work at the University of Alaska. They are part of a NASA Science Mission Directorate project that is called Arctic and Earth Signs. Globe research is being done by students, and you're going to get to talk to those students in just a little bit. And Globe research is being done by students all across Alaska as part of this project. And so these sessions that you're seeing today, the Meet the Scientist sessions, play the role of allowing the students to meet some of the researchers who are doing research similar to their own at the university level or maybe at the industry level, or using that research in some other way. So Dave is our scientist that we're going to be talking to today to do that, and we thank Katie and Elena for putting this project together, and we thank NASA's Science Mission Directorate for providing the funding for that. So I keep talking about images and pictures from Earth, and I want to start by showing you a website where you can see them. This will be something to go to afterwards. And the reason I'm starting here is I have several audiences to invite into this broadcast. You are seeing some of the students and Dave down at the bottom, but we also are live streaming this event. And so many other people may watch it in the future. There may be some people watching today. And so I want to give you an idea right from the start about what kind of NASA resources we'll be talking about today. So let me go up here and I'm going to show you the website that's called Earth Observatory. So the Earth Observatory website has images. Every day there's new images. And you can go and see what the Landsat satellites, so here we go, today's topic is Landsat. By the way, Landsat 8 is 5 years old. We're going to be talking about that a little later in this show, but keep that in mind. If I don't talk about it, remember that you want to ask me about that. So this is today's feature, how Landsat is turning 5. While I'm there, let me ask the students, are any of you 5 yet? Anybody raise your hand if you're 5? Okay.
5.
Any of you 5? No? How about 6? 4? Oh, help me, Lisa. What are their ages?
7. Raise your hand if you're 7.
7. Okay. All right. Good. Thank you very much. Okay, so Landsat satellite is just a little bit younger than you. You're a little bit older than that Landsat satellite. And we'll talk more about what the satellite is and what it's doing. But for now, let me get back up here. Okay, this is the Earth Observatory website, and you can see right there the words. And if you want to find it, it's just Earth Observatory, and we're displaying the URL for you on the screen. Okay, so that's mostly for my remote audience. Hello to all those who are watching. That's where you can get some information about Landsat. Certainly not the only place, but a good place to start. Okay.
You want to see your face on the computer.
So let's go now to the people who are connected into the Hangout. I let Dave wave for just a minute. So let's start with the class that we're seeing. There's Dave. Let's start with the class that we're seeing. Okay, let me make that picture larger. There we go. All right. So I'm going to ask Lisa. I believe Lisa is organizing or has been organizing this group along with Chioki. So would you introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your school and where you're connecting from?
Well, I'm Shioki Brent, and
I'm Lisa Villano.
And we are a married couple here in Shishmaref, promoting climate heroes and raising awareness for global warming with these wonderful young scientists here. Wave at the don't be shy, Natalie.
Yeah, it's time to wave hello. Hello, everyone. We're so glad you're with us today. Yeah, great. And you are, this part of what we're seeing, Shioki, is an after-school program, correct?
Correct.
All right.
And
so you've been through school all day today. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah. We have been studying blackberries. We go out, in the fall we went out and we looked at blackberries that maybe had dried up or had fallen off, or new blackberries that had grown from the previous week. And now, since the snow has fallen, we have been going out to our patch. But of course we can't see the berries, so we measure. We take our yardstick and we measure how many centimeters is on top of our berries now. And we do 3 measurements apiece.
Very good. Okay.
And since we call ourselves climate heroes, we really wanted our little ones to take that to heart. And so when we were labeling our berries or tagging them, they got to name their berries or their plants after superheroes.
That's awesome. All right. I'm going to ask you to pause the conversation there because I want to talk about that when Dave's more involved in the conversation. That sounds really interesting. So Dave's going to get into the superhero part of the berries. That sounds really cool. I want to ask you about some work you did right before the broadcast. You took crayons and rubbed them on paper over some surfaces, right? Do you have those pictures nearby? Can you hold them up and show them to me? Show those pictures to me, please.
Everybody wants to hold up their pictures.
Excellent. I would love for each of you to hold up your pictures. Perfect.
I'll hold it up so that they can see on the camera.
Okay, hold them up high.
Well, not high. So hold them so
hold them.
They can see
Yeah, right below your chin. That's great. And if you hold them really still, it'll be easier for me to see them. Okay. Okay, so interesting. Some of them look very rough. Was there something rough underneath the paper that made a lot of lines in the paper?
Yes.
Okay. Which one? Show me. If you have one that is rough, show me that one. Or maybe they all do. Yeah. Did they all rub that? Okay.
I think they all use this.
They use that same thing? Okay. So that would be something that would be rough. What could you look down from the air? What could you look down and see that would look rough and not smooth? I guess the snow outside would look pretty smooth, wouldn't it? Is that pretty smooth? Yeah. But what might look rough? Any ideas?
No.
If you guys, let me pose the question maybe a different way. Raise your hand if you've ever been on a Raven flight or a Bering flight. Have you, Julianne?
No, I didn't.
On an airplane?
I didn't.
Okay.
When you look out the airplane window,
I see stuff.
what do you see?
Clouds.
You see clouds. And do the clouds look really rough and bumpy?
No.
No.
They look kind of.
What do they look like?
Soft.
They look soft. Tell Bonnie what they look like.
They look
Soft and fluffy. Okay. Well, how about this? Show me what was under the paper when you did the rubbing. Can you show me what was under that paper? Yeah, grab that item. Pull it over here. That's great. Just go get it and bring it over here. Let's see. Let's see what it was that made this rough.
This one?
Oh, I see. Okay. So maybe rough. Okay. So maybe soil that was rough or plants that wouldn't feel smooth when you rub your hand over them. Awesome. Okay. Look at that. Yes. And some smooth surfaces too that would look like ice. Very neat.
Yeah.
All right. So what I thought we're going to hold on to here, and then we're going to get some thoughts from Dave on this because he's our resident expert today. So the thought in my head is things that would look rough on the ground, we can tell from those satellite images from far, far above the earth, kind of like if you were on a drone. Or how many of you are familiar with drones? Anybody has seen a drone in action? Any of you? Okay, awesome. I just didn't hear what you said. Say it again.
Say it again, Richard.
I went fly one.
Really?
You said you flew one before.
You flew a drone. That's really awesome. So you were able to take pictures from way above the earth, right? Very cool. That is really awesome. High five. Here we go. Ready? High five. Yeah. Awesome. All right, Dave, I'm going to come over to you and ask you to comment on that because I think that's really cool. And I think their pictures have helped them to think about what they might see from the air too. So Dave Verbyla, is a scientist. He studies at the University of Alaska, Fairbanks, so a little distance from you. Dave, have you ever flown a drone?
I have not.
Wow, so the kiddos are ahead of you so far.
You guys have something up on adult scientists.
Up on the scientist, yeah. New technologies, huh? So Dave, what do you think of those rubbings? Is it true that you can see textures in satellite images?
Yes, yes. Like the forest is rough and the shrubs in the tundra are rough. And then sometimes even sea ice can be rough.
Wow, sure. Think about that. I'm going to go back to the kids for a minute. The water isn't always smooth, is it?
Yes.
No, it's not.
Right. And you have the water all around you, so you get to see that a lot, and it's not always smooth. So surfaces that are not smooth to the touch, like my desk in front of you or your desk, if you rub on that desk, that's pretty smooth, right? So you can see those textures smooth and rough from satellite images. Very cool stuff. All right, Dave, I'm going to come back to you. And Dave has some pictures ready to share with you. Excuse me. Let me try that again. Dave has some pictures that he's ready to share with you. He's going to tell you a little bit about what he did as a child, kind of your age, and then talk about the work he's doing today. So you ready? Are you ready? Thumbs up if you're ready. Good. Okay. He's going to be asking you some questions too. So put on your thinking caps, maybe massage your brain a little bit. Get it ready. Okay. Massage that brain a little bit. Okay. Good. All right. Here we go. Dave, I'm going to come back over to you and we're going to switch to your PowerPoint.
Okay. So Bonnie asked me to describe why I grew up to become a scientist. And let's start when I was 5 years old. So if you go to the next slide.
Okay. Well, he was younger than you guys.
Okay.
Scientists are explorers. And when I was 5 years old, I liked to explore picking berries with my parents and my twin brother. And in June, we would pick strawberries. The wild strawberries. And then in August, we'd go near the ocean and we would pick high bush blueberries that grow on shrubs. So my question is, what type of berries do you have in Shishmaref?
Salmon berries.
Salmon berries.
Blueberries.
Blackberries, yeah, and
Blueberries.
And when I was a kid, we would have strawberry shortcake out of our strawberries, and we would make blueberry pancakes. So do you eat the berries in Shishmaref?
Yes.
And what do you do with the berries? Do you eat them raw? Do you put them in pancakes?
We eat them raw.
Raw.
Put them in your freezer, huh? Freeze them.
Yeah.
and sometimes you have them with your ice cream.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good way to have it.
You have native ice cream, Eskimo ice cream.
Oh yeah, Eskimo ice cream.
Those.
And sometimes you put them in your pancakes or your waffles.
Yep. My dad put them in a pancake before.
Ah. So that's how I started exploring at 5 years old. I was exploring for berries every weekend in the summer. So if you go to the next slide, Bonnie. So then as I grew up, I became
we can only see a tiny little square of the slides. We see
Bonnie's got to switch.
Yeah, we see you, Dave, but we see a tiny little square of your slides.
And that's what I see also.
Okay.
Hold on, let me try and switch that around. So I'm sharing. Okay, are you slides big now?
It was for a second. There we go. Oops.
Flashing back and forth.
Okay, so are you seeing the slides big now?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
But then it flashes back to little.
That's weird. It was not doing that 10 minutes ago. Of course it wasn't. How about now?
Now it's
okay. It looks like no.
Not quite.
It held longer though.
Yeah, but the stream is seeing it. Okay, let me ask you to do something, Lisa or Chioki, one of you. If you could go, if you can go to the computer, if you click on the box where I'm sharing the slides, because you're not seeing me, right? I'm the mystery person now.
Right.
Right. So
click on the box.
If you can click on that box at the bottom, you will see the slides large. Yes. It should get a white frame around the box.
A white frame around the box.
When you click on my box with the slides.
Oh, click on your box where it says Bonnie?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Are you seeing them large?
And I think, yep.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. And just leave it that way. You can still see Dave in the little box at the bottom, right?
Correct.
Okay. Perfect. Just leave it that way.
Slides, guys.
Thank you.
So I grew up as an explorer, and I've spent the last 25 years exploring Alaska, camping, canoeing, fishing, hunting. So exploring is just part of who I am. And as a scientist, I also explore. So if you go to the next slide, Bonnie.
You need to watch the screen. Ooh, look at that.
So who here has flown on an airplane?
Raise your hand if you've flown on an airplane before.
So why is it looking down from the airplane so cool? What do you see when you look down to the earth from the airplane?
We see grass. We see grass, pink grass and trees. And we can see
What do we usually see pink grass in Shishmaref?
No.
No. What do we see in Shishmaref when we look down?
road.
We see the road, sure.
Can you see the whole village?
Can you see the whole village?
Yeah.
Sure.
The whole village of Shishmaref from the airplane. So that's a big advantage of exploring. You see these large areas. On the ground, you can't see the whole village. You see a few buildings. You get up in the air, you can see the whole village. So let's say you launched in a rocket and you went in outer space. And if you go to the next slide, Bonnie. Now we're in outer space. What are you going to see?
Satellite.
So you're in a spaceship and you hitch a ride on a satellite and you're looking down. So what do you see if you're looking down from the satellite?
If you're looking down from the earth at the earth, you'd see the earth.
Yeah.
Maybe some grass.
Water.
Might look
ice.
Good. So let's look at the next slide. We'll be looking down from the satellite. So there is looking down from the satellite. Where is Shishmaref? Can you figure out where Shishmaref is there?
Yeah.
Right there.
Good.
Yeah, we would be on the very edge there.
The arrow's kind of going to this.
Water.
Yep,
See the ocean, the mountains. So a satellite image, if we look at it, it covers a large, large area. So we can study large, large areas, but we could also zoom in and study in detail smaller areas. So let's go to the next slide and we'll zoom in on Shishmaref.
That's us, guys. Look.
Look,
From
there
the
you
satellite.
And
There
you
we
notice I point and we get numbers. So for scientists, numbers are very important. We use math every day to ask scientific questions because these satellite images have numbers in them. So if you go to the next slide.
Yep.
So this is all the satellites. And if you ask your parents information, your parents can tell you about how things have changed before you were even born. And we could do the same thing with satellites. We can go back in time and ask about changes before you were even born. So who would know more about changes, your grandparents or your parents?
No.
Who do you think has lived a long time to see changes in the earth?
Parents or grandparents? Grandparents. Yeah, yes.
Probably have seen more
Yes.
changes.
Good.
Yeah.
So just like grandparents, we can go back in time to satellites that have information as old as your grandparents, and we could ask questions. So if you go to the next slide, Bonnie. So one question we can ask is, what's happening to the lakes? So here's my favorite duck hunting spot. So what is happening to this lake?
It got grass. It got lots of grass in the water.
And why doesn't it have much water?
Because of the grass. Because
Right,
it's raining.
drying up. So we could see that on satellites, and we could see which lakes are drying. So if you go to the next slide, Bonnie. So there's an example. On the left is from a long, long time ago, from when your grandparents were young. And on the right is from today. So those black spots are lakes that we see from outer space. And you notice how the black spots are getting smaller and smaller as we go from left to right. So we can study how lakes are drying.
Nobody's feet should be on my cushions. I'm going to take the cushion.
Oh, I want to sit on it.
I'm sorry, we're a little distracted here at the moment. Nobody is going to.
Okay.
We're a little distracted. We're getting ourselves together.
Yeah, that's okay. You get yourselves together, and I know you can't see me, but I'm not going to show my picture because I want to highlight. I was kind of doing that with my cursor, with my mouse. So while you're getting settled again, I'm going to highlight. And Dave, if you could just say that again. So going from left, so I'm on the left image now, and these are lakes, right? So go ahead, tell that story again.
Grandparents were really young. That's what those lakes look like. And then on the right is what they look like today. So the black spots are lakes, and they're drying up. And we can see that outer space.
Right, that's an image from outer space. I apologize for interrupting you, Dave. Yeah, but that's awesome. So question to the class, does that mean that there's more or less water in those lakes today? More or less?
Less. Very good.
Get your shoes on.
Yeah,
Everybody should have their
a
shoes on.
lot less water in those lakes. That's a huge change. And just in the lifetime of one person, because your grandparents are another 2 generations from you, but in their lifetime, that change has happened. That's a huge change. Thank you, Dave, and thanks for going back over that. Okay, looks like we're settled again.
So is that good or bad when the lake's dry like that?
Bad.
And why would it be bad? What would it be bad for?
Because we won't survive.
So what lives in the lakes?
Mm-hmm.
So what would live in the lake?
Animal.
Yeah, what might
Fish.
Fish.
Okay.
Right.
Animal.
So the fish.
Alligator.
Not
Fish.
Alaska.
And then how about moose? Would it be good or bad for moose?
Bad.
Bad for moose.
It will actually be
Moose eat
good
what?
for moose because they have more plants to eat.
Oh,
So
that's
they'll have
actually
moose.
true. Yeah.
Yep.
So it was always a trade-off. Sometimes it's good for some animals and it's bad for other animals. Okay, so let's go to the next slide.
Okay, do not touch the keyboard.
So what's happening here? What's that?
There's no water.
Not only that,
There's
but,
only mud.
and there are
what-
no trees.
The tree.
So
The
what
tree
caused
is
that?
burned.
Burned, yes, so a fire. So we could also see fires from outer space. So let's go to the next slide. So there is an area that burned from outer space. And that's a huge, huge area. So would
And
that
is it
be
the pink
good?
area?
The red area is all the area that burned is in red. And everything in green did not burn. So is that good or is that bad?
Bad.
Okay, so why would it be bad?
Because some people can die.
Yeah.
Because of the land.
Yeah.
And
What about the birds? Where would the birds live?
they would live somewhere else.
Well, where? Because
They're
Red.
dead.
They might be dead, some of them. Yeah.
and what about the squirrels?
They will be dead. They
So
will
how
live
about-
somewhere else.
How about 20 years from now?
They will be dead, right?
So 20 years after the wildfire, will we have vegetation?
All right, what will happen in that 20 years? So the fire burned the trees and the squirrels had to move, and the birds had to move, but what's going to happen next?
Okay, pick your heads up and answer the question. Put your thinking caps on.
Yep,
What do you
thinking caps
think?
back
Remember,
on.
let's rub those brains again. Rub those brains and massage them right. What's going to start happening next? Does anything grow back? Have you seen land that's been burnt? Does anything grow back?
No.
No, sometimes.
Maybe they haven't experienced that, Dave. You know, maybe they haven't seen that. But generally, it does grow back. Yes.
Will grow back.
Yes.
So we'll get shrubs, and a lot of those shrubs, the moose like. So we'll get more moose when we get more shrubs after the fire.
Right. But it'll take a long time before the squirrels can come back because the trees take a lot longer to grow, right?
And we'll get more blueberries too. So 10 years after the fire, we get lots of blueberries in areas that burned. So that's our favorite place to go berry picking. This was 2004. So how old is a fire if it was in 2004? So how long ago was that?
14 years.
14 years ago.
14 years ago.
Yeah.
So now if we go there, there'll be tons of blueberries to pick.
Very awesome. That's a big advantage, more blueberries.
Yeah. So let's go to the next slide. So we also have, looking over time from the 1940s,
I know.
we're getting more and more shrubs. So we can see that from outer space. So would that be good or bad to have more and more shrubs in the tundra?
Bad.
And why do you think it would be bad?
Because of
What do you think, Danny?
Because the animals will
because of the
Well,
animals will die.
Let Danny say
Yeah, let
something.
Danny finish.
because of the animals will die and they would have food no more.
They won't have any more food.
Mhm.
So some animals like the open tundra. So how about caribou? Do caribou like the open tundra?
No.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yeah, caribou live on the tundra. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it might not be good for caribou, but moose like the shrubs and they eat the willow, so it might be good for moose. So it all depends on what kind of animals you're talking about. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So that is my backyard from this morning. And we have lots of snow. How much snow do you have in Ishmaraf?
Lots.
Not that much.
Not as much as.
There's
We just
only
got about 3 inches over the weekend.
Yeah.
So how much snow is on the ground in Shishmaref?
What would you say? About maybe
just short.
Probably about
maybe a couple
6 inches.
6 inches? Okay. Yeah.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
And we probably have, it's waist deep in Fairbanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
30 inches in Fairbanks.
I
So
think that would be over some of their heads, Dave.
yeah.
So if you put your hands up, kiddos in the picture, put your hands up above your head. That's how high you might have to reach. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to feel outside that snow. Oh my goodness.
It would cover
So
you
we
up.
can map snow from satellites from outer space. So here's an example of, for the whole state, when the snow disappears. So is snow good or is snow bad?
It is good.
And why is snow good?
Because we can use our snow go.
Exactly.
Because we can go sliding.
So if you have a snow machine, you need snow to go snow machining. So we can map how our snow conditions are changing as the climate warms from outer space. So we can map where there's snow and where there's not snow. And then the next slide. So this is my backyard, and on the upper left-hand corner is a cow moose. And she was exploring and she discovered my garden. And she ate all the peas in my garden.
Oh no.
And she's probably asking, where are more peas? And then the other one is a bull moose, and he was exploring in my backyard, and he found some rose hips, and he ate all the rose hips in my backyard. And he's probably asking, where are more rose hips to eat? So do you have any questions?
Animals.
Well, when we had a garden like that a few years ago, I think a moose probably got to it.
Mm-hmm.
And
moose and rabbits and other.
And animals can't talk.
Right? They can
what kind
think
of
but they
animals
can't
are in
talk, yeah.
Shishmaref?
Okay. I just took the picture should have gone back, and Chioki, you can take the white box away. If you just click on that picture again, the white box will go away, and then whoever talks will be the big box. So, because we don't need it to see the PowerPoint anymore. So, Dave, I think that's really cool. I don't have any animals that big that go in my backyard, of course, but it's really neat to see those pictures. Yeah, that's really cool. And you were asking something, and I lost track. Could you repeat that last question you asked, Dave, please?
Does anybody have any questions?
Oh, there we go. Okay. Well, I know I do, but is there anything that anybody there wants to ask Dave about the pictures we saw before I ask a question?
Yeah, what about you? Do you have a question? Richard, do you have a question? Oh, no one has it. Danny, what about you?
How old are you?
I'm 60.
Look at that. So, Dave was born right before they started capturing these pictures, right, Dave?
That's correct.
Yes.
And
So think about that. Yeah, Landsat didn't exist, and it does now.
Bonnie, how old are you?
I am 57, 3 years younger. I should have made you do the math. 3 years younger than Dave. Yeah. And age is an important thing when you're 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. I get it. It's not. It gets different as you get older. We don't count the years so many times, but it's important when you're little. So right in my lifetime was when Landsat started. So let's think about. Here's my question to you. In your grandparents' lifetime, what changes have happened in Shishmaref? What have they told you about how Shishmaref was different when they were 4 or 5 years old?
Can I tell you guys something?
Yeah.
There is a change that just happened today.
Ooh, what happened?
We had so much wind over the weekend that the ocean side of the island opened up.
That's right.
And there's open water now, and there's never open water in February.
That's historic. Because you notice that each year the weather patterns are very different.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that's affecting that. So Dave, my question to you is, could we pull satellite images that would show February and show those ice differences?
you could. And you couldn't snow machine on the open water, so that's important.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Your snow goes out on.
And at this month, there's a sense that the hair is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Every bit bigger, and this morning when the discussion done the hair, just go down. Just gonna see how deep it was. This deep, and the other time it was this deep now.
Are you talking about the cliff?
No, the hill.
The hill?
The hills,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The hill
Yeah.
is it getting shorter or is it getting taller?
Shorter.
And each year, it takes longer for the ice to freeze on the lagoon and on the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And something else, some information that we received from some of the elders here is that it's estimated that on average, at least 50 feet of land gets swallowed up by the ocean every year.
Wow.
Wow. And it sounds like is that Daniel who was telling that story about the hill?
Danny.
Danny, yes.
Danny,
Yep.
Danny, yeah. So from what Danny's saying, even on the land that's still there are a lot of changes happening too. And that can happen from groundwater differences.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are a lot of things that can cause that, but if groundwater is changing, that could be something as well. Dave, any other thoughts you wanted to share about that or anything else?
I had a question. What kind of fish are at Shishmaref?
Ooh, who knows that one?
Tomcod, smelt, whitefish, beefish, sometimes salmon,
Sometimes salmon. Yeah.
Sometimes salmon, yeah.
and
And what's the best eating fish? Your
tomcod.
favorite?
Tomcod?
Tomcod?
Tomcod? I don't know. I kind of like salmon.
Smell.
Richard likes
Oh, smell.
Yeah.
He
Yeah, he
likes
likes tomcod.
He likes tomcod, okay.
And I would
Very
Like any
cool. Awesome. So my last question, how long have you been doing the berry research?
Well, we started back in August. I believe the exact date was August the 28th. And what's really interesting is that the previous berry site that we had chosen, a lot of the berries were rotten and there weren't a lot of them. And then because the wind factor is always something to behold here in Shishmaref, our previous berry site was covered up by lots of trash that had blown over. And so we had to pack up and relocate to the other side of the island. And over there, the berries were much more abundant and we had more to work with.
Oh, wow.
And
Well,
what kind of berries are they?
Dave, I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
What kind of berries are they?
Blackberries or crowberries, but
Crowberries, okay.
blueberries, blackberries.
But locally they're known as blackberries.
I see.
I know it's
You'll go
all
ahead.
kind of.
You might want to speak up, Danny. Danny has a question.
I know what kind of berries there is: blueberries, blackberries, cranberries,
Blueberries, blackberries, and cranberries.
and those bad berries. It's
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
David, I think you're on your way to becoming a great scientist. Daniel, excuse me.
Danny.
Danny.
Danny, I think you're on your way to becoming a great scientist. You're good at observations. You're giving me lots of details. You're all very good scientists, and you got Danny as your mentor there. Awesome. Well, I know it's late in the day, and I appreciate your attention. You've already been through school all day, and now you're at the after-school club. So I appreciate your attention, but we're going to let you go. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Yes,
I
nice
hope
to
you
meet
enjoyed
y'all.
meeting Dave. Dave, I'll let you say goodbye.
Okay, so guys, come here. Let's wave goodbye and let's say thank you.
Thank you.
Dave,
Thank you.
Dave,
All right. Thank you so much,
Pleasure.
and thank you especially to Chioki and Lisa for helping. It's a lot of work in getting the connections ready and getting the materials ready, so I appreciate all of that. And look forward to maybe connecting with you all later in the spring to catch up with your research. And thanks for all your questions and comments. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.